Experts warn that diesel could be rationed as early as next month in the UK. They're warning that diesel sales may be restricted from as early as next month amid fears of fuel shortages as the UK phases out imports from Russian oil. Although the UK largely sources its own petrol, half of the country's diesel is imported, and of these imports, a third comes from Russia. MPs have warned that an economic shock worse than the 1973 oil crisis is looming for the UK as energy prices around the world soar, putting more pressure on already struggling British households. The Mail Online reports Prime Minister Boris Johnson has promised to gradually remove imports of Russian oil by the end of this year, but finding alternative sources depending on agreements with the Middle East, Sunday Times reports. There's speculation Prime Minister Boris Johnson could travel to Saudi Arabia in the coming days for a meeting with Mohammed bin Salman in order to help keep oil prices down. Some analysts have concluded there's a real risk diesel may have to be rationed, with 12 million diesel cars on the road, although sales are on decline. A spokesman from Energy Aspects Consultancy said risks of energy rationing and ultimately a recession are growing by the day, something most policymakers seem to be ignoring or as grasping right now. If Russian oil is not integrated back into the market within the next few weeks, we are at a real risk of having to ration crude and products by the summer. By Friday, its assessment had become even more urgent, with the warning diesel rationing could begin as soon as April. It's understood these shortages would cause an even bigger impact than those of September last year, when petrol stations ran dry as the government claimed the problem was down to panic buying. The UK receives just 4% of its gas from Russia, making its dependency less than vulnerable other European nations, where as a whole 40% of the gas comes from Russia. To counter this, President Biden has even proposed sending heat pumps to Europe in order to take away Russia's influence. Analysts say the biggest issue is the price, because the UK part of the global market, any sudden changes to price hit the country. Wholesale prices skyrocketed when Russia invaded Ukraine, leaping to 800 p per therm on March 6 from just 64p at the same time last year. For drivers, the cost of a tank of diesel for a Ford Focus hit £85, that's about $90 this week, up 1.5 pounds in 24 hours, and a tank of unleaded is 81.1, that's about $90, and both could hit $90, about $100 this month. A large family car will now cost over £100 to fill up, that's about $120, and a 4x4 Land Rover would take up about 165 pounds, that's about $180 per tank. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is said to have snubbed the request from Joe Biden to have a call on the issue of oil supply as the West tries to wean itself off Russian fossil fuels. This is by Neam Harris on News Punch. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.